All right, we are live. Hello, everybody out there. Welcome to the Erasmus Expeditions. You are tuning in to a session 0 this evening for a brand new Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign that is going to be kicking off here tonight called Beneath the Banner's Shadow. And before we kind of get into all of that and what it is and what that means, I'm going to pass it over to my players so that they can do their introductions. Hopefully that'll give our 5th player a little bit more time to hop in here. Actually, before I hand it over to my players, a word of warning. I'm told that these people are all adults. I am an adult. I know this because my mommy told me so. And yeah, so there's going to be adult language, probably adult, mature topics. If that kind of stuff bothers you, you really should do yourself a favor and just go watch something else on YouTube. But if you're going to stick around, then welcome. So first up, I'm going to toss it over to Eli.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on the show, Jeremy, or the game. I'm very excited to be playing. I will normally be playing a character by the name of Sir John Lightenor, a knight and warrior. But for tonight, I will instead be playing a rogue who goes by the name of Gwyneth. You can find me on my YouTube channel under my name, Eli Kurtz, and I also head up the company called The Mythic Gazetteer. We publish role-playing game stuff. So I'm just looking really forward to tonight. This is great. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, absolutely. In hindsight, probably not the wisest way to set up a game, but we're here now. So next up, Karen.
Hi, I'm Karen Davies, and normally I'll be playing Ariana Shaw. She's a Corrode elf. Also one of the Seldan Shieldhouses. So she's a warrior, and got that in there, tongue twisters. But tonight I'm going to be playing Nyx, who is about 10 years older, so it's hard to tell. And she's kind of a waif that one of the other players has picked up and has helped her survive on the streets. So looking forward to this game. Thank you.
Me as well. Very much so. Next up, Baron.
What's up, everybody? I'm Baron. I'm over at the YouTube channel RWD Gaming. Come check us out. We got a couple new videos up. Usually, I will be playing Sir Tord Masaka. He is an Angorian orc from the lands of Shannon, I believe is how it's pronounced. And he is a knight trying to make it from the bottom. So we'll see how he does. Tonight I'm going to be playing Dristan Blackbird. He is a criminal mastermind of sorts. He's here to lie, cheat, steal, and anything up to including murder. It's all in the game.
Excellent. And last but not least, for the current moment at least, Steve.
Hey, I'm Steve. I run the YouTube channel 3D6. There's some videos up there if you want to go check it out. I'd love some feedback. So normally I will be playing Dane, who has recently taken the last name Scarlet due to his red hair. But he has no amazing abilities, no hero class, no class at all. Wait, no character class. So I'll be playing a level 0 character at the beginning, and we'll see where it takes us. Tonight I'll be playing Runt, who is a burly half-orc street thug, for lack of better terminology. In fact, I think that's how he'd like to be talked about, being a street thug.
Perfect. And our 5th, Josh, should be joining us here hopefully very shortly. And before we kind of get into what we're actually going to be playing through tonight, we are going to go ahead and hold our session 0. So just a small little bit here about the setting itself. Like I said, this is set in my homebrew world of Rostbean, where I've run 2 online games campaigns already, both On the Rise and The Ashes of Heaven can be found here on this channel, one of which takes place in kind of the Egyptian part of the world, and the other is taking place in the Asian part of the world. Our campaign that we're starting tonight is going to be taking place in the kingdom of Vykaril, which is an Arthurian kind of England with a little bit of Germanic influences kind of mixed in. There's definitely going to be a lot of Arthur tropes and things of that nature. Might be recognizable from Siegfried saga and Robin Hood, things of that nature. So expect a lot of knights and castles and lances and shit like that. So, do you guys have any kinds of questions before we kind of really dig into this and kind of introduce your characters more in depth?
How much earlier is this story taking place than the regular campaign story?
Okay, so the part that we'll play here on the end is about 50 years or so before what we'll be playing through in the main campaign. You guys will be playing shortly after the death of the greatest king that this land has known. We'll kind of get more into that in just a minute here. So if you guys don't have any other questions, then we'll go ahead and start rolling into kind of what I got prepped here.
I've had plenty of time to ask questions.
It has been a long time coming. So the first order of business I want to kind of go over is the social contract. I'm not going to drag this out real long, but obviously, you know, be polite, be courteous, don't be a dick. Golden rule. It's the honor system as far as rolling goes. I'm not going to, you know, ask to see your dice or anything like that. But that being said, don't be a dick. Don't cheat. We've already gone over muting up, kind of whenever it's not your turn talking, and taking turns, being cool with like shining the light on others. If you find yourself having had a really good long moment in the spotlight, don't be afraid to kind of pass it to another player, somebody who may be a little quiet. I'm looking at you, Karen. And yeah, hit the ball around, have fun. Don't try to be a superstar. Do it on your own. House rules. I cap inspiration at 4 points. They do stack, so you can hoard them if you want, up to 4. In addition to the way that they're normally spent, if you have some kind of idea that you think could be interesting to throw into the narrative of what's going on, but it might kind of push the limits of the rules just a little bit, maybe you can throw in a point of inspiration and I'll let you do it. Just ask. The way I do critical hits are max damage, and then you roll your dice again. That tends to feel a lot more like a critical hit, usually. I do let you get flanking for advantage on attacks and things of that nature, if there's a situation that comes up. Let me see what else here. I know I asked a lot of you guys as players in the beginning. We did connections with both NPCs as well as some of the other PCs here. You each came up with a secret, at least one. We did a dread style questionnaire for your characters, and I came up with the cope list where I asked you guys kind of what your expectations were for a setting like this, and kind of made a list of the most common answers. Should help a lot as we go through this. But all of that, I think, will serve a really good purpose in the long run. I think it's already kind of woven this group of characters together really, really well. And it's given me a ton of material to pull from. So I thank you guys very, very much for humoring all of that. Let's see what else. I wanted to say a huge, massive thank you to Rachel Ayers. She is the artist that I hired to make the Shieldhouses heraldry, which she did very, very well. I'm going to pull up the picture of the main ones here for everyone to see who has not done so yet. She did a phenomenal job. She was a pleasure to work with. So I highly recommend at least saying hi to her, if not hiring her if you got some work that she can do. So, other things of business about the setting itself. The common language is Divinian, which is actually the kind of Greek-Roman civilization in my world, who at one point actually had settled this portion of the world, similar to Britain's own history. And the Vykarilian language pretty much has died out. It's not really used by anyone at all anymore. There is an Arthur analog in this tale. His name was Mathuran Gabrain. He was the once and future king. He was a half-elf. He kind of unified the elves, humans, and the orcs together, surprisingly. At least the Angorian orcs. And what followed after he was crowned was about 100 years of the best years that anybody can remember in this kingdom. And he did a lot of it through his own prowess as a warrior and his diplomatic skills, but also he had a lot of help from a mythical blade. And the blade was named, or is named Camagel. And that sword is actually still used all these years later as a symbol of your kingdom. But Mathuran Gabrain eventually did die. And the years following his death have not gone according to what was likely his plan. As tends to happen, lesser people rose up to claim their own rights. So they saw them, at least, and their wealth, sometimes at the expense of the people. This individual that I am showing you now is the Merlin equivalent. This individual is named Tarhin, Tarhin. He is a very ancient, very powerful individual who some say actually walked the earth when the people who are now the gods did. Okay. Still no Josh just yet. Do you guys have any kinds of questions thus far?
So I have a question sort of on the social contract level. Maybe in chat in the next month or whatever we have till game, if there are certain like features or abilities or methods that stick out in your mind about your character, like those moments where you're like, this is going to be badass, maybe like give us a little snippet so that we can as players see that coming in the scene and then sell it for you, right? Because it always sucks when you're like, hey, this is my big heroic moment, and then everyone else is like, hey, can I have some of that gold? Like, it just sucks. So like if there's like that thing that's going to be kind of like quintessential to your character, if we could throw that in there and then we could all sell it for you, that'd be awesome.
I agree. I think that's a phenomenal idea.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
What's up?
Welcome. Before we go on with the remainder of the questions, Josh, I know you just rolled in, but do you want to do your intro?
Oh man, we can wait till everybody's done. I can go ahead and do it during the break. No big deal.
Go for it, man. We're paused. We got you.
Okay.
Unless you're not ready.
No, I'm good. My name is Josh. I run the YouTube channel Roll the Bones. It's currently quite inactive since I've been a little busy, but hopefully we're going to get that off the ground soon. It's a world building channel. So go ahead and roll on by, like you said, and drop a subscription in there. For the main campaign, I'm going to be playing Eddard Baden. He's a human bard, level 2. And yeah, he's a bit of a bookworm. This probably actually being his first adventure. So excited to see how that goes. And Did you guys introduce your characters for the second half of the?
They did, yes.
Okay, so for the second half, I'm going to be playing Sifrith, the Road Knight. Yeah. What's Baron? I forget your character's name, but essentially just hired muscle, following Baron around and protecting his character. That's about it, honestly.
Excellent. Good deal. And all of the channels that were mentioned already, you should be able to find links to them in the description below this video. So we were just kind of going over some points of business and social contract and a little bit of setting information. I can catch you up on that kind of stuff later, Josh. So were there any other questions regarding what you guys have heard so far about setting information or the way I tend to run the game?
So setting wise, arcane magic, right? Like it's not the most common place, right? You don't like just walk into like every village doesn't have a level 5 wizard sitting in it cranking out magic items.
No, definitely.
And in fact, in a lot of places, it's kind of frowned on, right?
Yes, there is black magic in the world, and it is. Caught me with my pants down. It's specific schools of magic.
That was like illusion, evocation, necromancy, and something else.
Something like that, yeah. I'll pull it up here and be able to give it.
So if it lets you lie, cheat, blow things up, or raise the dead, people don't like it. Makes sense.
Or hurt people. Yeah.
Fun.
But one of the more stranger aspects is that healing magic is also actually prohibited unless you are ordained by the church. The new faith, that is, the virtuous divinity, who are like the 8 deities that they are kind of that are sanctioned as being real gods.
So how does it roll? Like, we walk into a town, we're in a tavern, and something goes down, and someone uses magic. Not one of us, but we see a townsperson, right, use magic. Is it like everyone in town's all of a sudden running to the authorities? Are they calling in a witch hunt? Is it like, oh my God, kill them because they might, bring on a plague?
Yeah, it's kind of it kind of runs the gamut. It just depends on the town you're in and the circumstances of how the magic was used. There are some people who would go straight to the authorities, whether it be because it's just the kind of narc that they are, or they really want favor. Who knows? But there are some people who will turn a blind eye to it. And then there are others who are zealous and will hunt these witches across miles and miles of territory to do awful things to them.
And is there an organization specifically that ferrets out black magic users and kills them?
Yes, there are a few different ones that will actually do it. There is a group called the Justicars, who are followers of Evandel, the goddess of justice. They are also mainly a Divinian organization from like the Roman, Greco-Roman part of the world, but they have a chapter in many of the civilized human lands, and they certainly have a presence here in Vykaril. And they are a kind of world police, if you will. They definitely can be hired to hunt people who have broken the law down. And then there's a couple of other organizations here or there that are known for specifically bounty hunting, essentially, witches and bringing them to justice.
So another question on magic.
Mm-hmm.
Eddard is like a novice magician, essentially. He's been learning, a little bit from the court, I guess. Would they be a court wizard for like the house? House Warrington. So he's been learning under them. So is it not like totally disgusting for him to be learning illusion magic and stuff like that, enchantment magic?
So now that the list is loaded up on my computer, so the black magic that is considered to kind of go against the teachings of the virtuous divinity and therefore are illegal are conjuration, evocation, necromancy, and transmutation.
Okay, so you should be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly all like parlor tricks to try and like divert attention from himself.
Exactly. And again, kind of what you do with it might still kind of get you in trouble depending on who sees it and whatnot. But the casting of magic outside of those schools is not prohibited.
Certainly brings a drop of the hat. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to cast the magic, or are you going to? Certainly gives it more weight to the choice you make. So I like that a lot.
Good. I hope it plays out. Should be fun. Cool. You guys have any other questions? I'm sure there will be some that come up here and there.
What was the name of that sword that belonged to
the King's Sword?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is called sometimes the King's Sword, but its full name or actual name or whatever is Camagel. Camagel.
Okay. And the guy, Mathuran Gabrain is how you say his name?
Yeah, Mathuran
Cool.
Gabrain.
Cool. So I've got a question. This isn't so much for our session 0 play, but Sir John is a landed knight, nobleman. So what is it going to be like whenever I walk into a village as opposed to whenever like a peasant walks into a village? Is there a real clear distinction there, or what's the story?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have chosen your background already, I don't know if you took noble, but noble would probably be excellent. Good. That's probably a really good place to start as far as having to feel an immediate difference, just even built into the mechanics. Yeah, people are definitely going to respond differently to you. Most people will probably defer to you and things of that nature, unless, of course, they have rank themselves, which, depending on the size of the town, you may or may not come across. But you also have to keep in mind that though you are a knight, you are very low on the totem pole currently. Yours is basically by birth.
Mm-hmm. I don't even have a horse yet.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
We don't have horses yet?
Well, I don't anyway.
Damn, doesn't he look cool with that sword?
That's right. Don't tell anybody it was his daddy's sword. Cool. All right. Well, if you guys don't have any more setting questions, then we can go ahead and dive in and get to know your characters a little bit better, as well as kind of how they're connected to one another and the world. I would refrain from revealing anything from your secret, just unless you feel it's really imperative to people being introduced to your character. But the other stuff I'd like to kind of touch on just a little so people can get to know who they're going to be seeing become heroes and legends. So whoever wants to start, you can take it away.
I'll go ahead and jump in with Sir John. So Sir John is he's a human fighter, and he is the son of House Lightnor, which is a house that is under House Melowain, which I understand to be one of the more martial houses. Yeah. So House Lightnor has traditionally been quartermasters to House Melowain. This is for the past 2 generations. And there are mysterious circumstances surrounding that, but Sir John doesn't really know what's going on there. What he does know is that he doesn't like the arrangement of being the quartermasters to a military house. He would rather be a warrior on the front lines. He is a knight. His skills are best suited for combat. And he realizes that House Lightnor is not going to be able to provide him with that life as it exists. So his goal is to start a new knightly order within House Lightnor to protect and provide for his people. He styles himself the Master of 5 Tenets because he's quick to admit that he doesn't follow all 6 of the knightly tenets. In particular, his heart is not always virtuous because he's wildly ambitious, and so he can be ruthless, selfish, and disdainful to his enemies and his rivals. Otherwise, he sticks to all 6 of the knightly tenets. And I'm realizing I don't think I have those listed anywhere. I should probably get those from you at some point. Oh, wait, no. Okay, so the knightly tenets, I can read these off. A knight is sworn to valor. His heart knows only virtue. His blade defends the helpless. His might upholds the weak. His word speaks only truth. His wrath undoes the wicked. Is that from the game, or was it something that I took from somewhere else?
So yes, that is something that I handed out to you guys. It is also stolen from something else. It is from the movie Dragonheart.
Nice. Okay, yeah, that's right.
The
Okay,
old Knight's Code that they follow in that setting.
cool. All right, yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of like the general Knight's Code for the Vykarilians.
Cool.
Paladins and stuff might follow slightly different tenets depending on their oath and whatnot, but that's definitely kind of the general one that most knights follow.
Cool. All right, yeah. So he's all about that, but like I said, out of all those tenets, he doesn't so much pay attention to the virtue tenet. He's comfortable being a little vicious every now and then. But yeah, he's out to prove himself, and he wants to duel all the worthy foes. It doesn't matter if they're friends or enemies or whatever. He's down for a knightly duel to first blood or to concession or whatever. Otherwise, he's just out to make a name for himself and see what the world has to offer.
Perfect. Did you also want to discuss your betrothed, or no? You want to hold on to that?
Well, that's interesting. I don't think she's actually betrothed to him or anything.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the situation is that he's engaged in this courtly love arrangement with this woman. Let me remember what is the. Yeah, her name is Lady Laudine of Astuen. And he saw her once when he was a kid. Like he's not very old. He's maybe how old is he exactly? Let's see here. He's 26, I believe. And I think when he was closer to 18 or something, there was this lady who was just a few years older than him. And he saw her in court one day, and he just lost it. He fell so hard for this woman that he thought for months he would give up his knightly calling, and instead he would just do whatever he could to get her love and attention. But she was already married. She's married to another man. And so instead, he loves her from afar, and he'll write really terrible poetry for her. He'll swear upon her. He's always like, his dream would be to get her favor in a tournament or something, like to carry her scarf or her kerchief into battle would be his dream. But yeah, it's a very forbidden kind of affection that he has for her. He doesn't want to act on it, and in fact, he probably shouldn't.
All right. Next up, Josh.
You're gonna have to give me a moment. I'm trying to find all my stuff. It
Okay.
looks like it's gone. Oof. So
We will come back to you. Karen.
So Ariana Shell is of the corrode elves, or otherwise known as the moon elves. She's been stationed actually with Ben Shell. Got that. The shield bearer of House Ben Shell. And she's been there for about a decade and a half, working kind of with him, trying to understand what he's doing, because as far as she could tell, like this whole thing that happened with Mathuran, it was kind of, well, this breakdown is kind of just a bad idea. Like, why are we trying to save this? Why don't we just go back and be elves and stay in our land? So she's here trying to protect the elven, what's the word I'm looking for? The elven culture. Yeah,
I see. Okay.
Yeah, make sure that their lands are protected, that whatever's happening here in this human realm isn't going to affect them.
Ever the protective angle, yes. Excellent. Anything else you want to?
I don't think so.
No. All right, fair enough. Baron.
All right, so Tord Masaka. which Masaka means something in orc, but I don't remember what that was.
I'm drawing a blank as well. So there you go.
We'll figure it out later. There are three kind of main points in my mind that take place in Towards Life before we get to the game. He is the son of an Angorian orc logger. At one point in my adolescence, which was probably, like 10 years ago, since orcs age faster, I encountered a dryad and a trent in the woods. And they kind of enlightened me to the ways of the natural world, and our industrious move on the woodlands was not necessarily a bad thing, but our methodology was flawed. So that's like my intro to the natural druidic side of things. Second main thing that happens is I encounter a road knight, Sir Warwick Mirth. He was a ruling noble at one. Well, not ruling, I guess. I don't remember his exact position, but he was a shield bearer.
Yeah, the Mirth house was a shield bearing house at one point.
He was the house seat of a shield bearing family that was basically disgraced and removed from power, and he was kind of exiled and being hunted. And I traveled with him, and he taught me how to be a knight. He taught me how to fight, and ultimately he was killed. And I was pretty brutally injured in that fight as well. But I got his sword and shield, not a shield-bearing shield, of course. Third point was I was rescued by a druid, this woman in the woods that everyone assumed was a witch. She patched me up and basically brought me back from the edge of death. We lived together for a while, and someone had caught her using a forbidden magic. And while we had gotten to a fight and I had stormed off, they came and they burned the house down with her inside. So since then, I have taken to the road to try to uphold my own sense of justice and do right by the people and the natural order of things.
Absolutely. And I think having both you and Sir John in the same group will be a lot of fun. The fact that you guys kind of uphold the same world, but from very, very different angles. I think it'll be fun to see how that collides at times.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Steve.
So, like I said earlier, I'll be playing Dane. Dane is a young, like 16-year-old, just turned 17 farm boy from a small village called Fertile Ground. His dad, Dane knows he was a soldier, but doesn't know much more specific than that. Dad never really talked about it. But was a very practical man. Mom's much more of the dreamer and kind of instilled this wanderlust into Dane. And so one night he sort of felt this calling in a dream, and he got up, packed up his stuff, and left. He's hit the road. Couple of months into it, he bumped into a knight, Sir Heathbane, whom he thought was a shield-bearing knight for one of the banner houses, and so he signed on as his squire, this eager young kid out to live the legends that he had been told by his mother and everyone else. And turned out that, well, to put it mildly, Sir Heathbane was an asshole, and used his alleged knightly status to gain things rather than to help. And this always sort of tore at Dane. So there was a defining moment that Heathbane finally got called out on his shenanigans, and Dane sort of took off and ran through the woods for several months, nearly starving, having to even fall to level of begging for food and whatnot, until he came across this this young idyllic knight who, sure, he has his flaws, but Dane's always willing to look past that. He rewords it, right? You can't have two back-to-back crab knights. It's not fair. So although Sir Lightenlord does not uphold all the tenets, the way Dane sees it, he does. You know, it may take a little bit of a spin here or there, but there's always virtue behind that wrath, behind that duel, behind that boasting. There's always some reason. But the moment in the street of Lightenlore, maybe perhaps uncharacteristically kneeling in the mud to pick up this lady's cloak, and then fighting this menace to the town who happened to be a menace from Dane's childhood, really sort of sealed the deal. And so he has again signed on as this eager squire. He basically knows what the pointy end of a sword is, and where it goes. But he's quick to polish, and strong-willed and strong-hearted, if nothing else. And so we'll just have to sort of see where that takes him, because he is from a torn world of this wanderlust dreamer mother and this very practical soldier father, and how does that fit into being a knight?
Absolutely. This is yeah, like I said, this group is very, very well kind of woven together, and I'm very eager to see all of the story arcs, kind of how they both progress on their own and how they kind of bump into and cross one another. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So, Josh, if you're ready to go.
Yeah, so my character's name, like I said, is Edard Bain, and mechanically he is a level 2 bard, and through, characteristically, he is basically as close as you can get in this time period to being a privileged, sheltered person. He is the son of two librarians that work for the noble house in House Warrington, and he has spent most of his time learning how to read and write, learning about other cultures, and basically just being a shut-in for a long time. But came a day when a traveling troupe passed through the town of Warrington, and he was just enamored. I believe it was a group of elves, and immediately enamored by the culture. He thought that there were some things that books can't teach you about, people's cultures and things. So he later that night went back to his room and penned a letter to his parents, and he plans on leaving on his first worldly adventure. Not sure what Jeremy's going to do there, but he's going to have to make it out of the town of Warrington one way or the other. So he plans on leaving. But yeah, I mean, like I said, he's very weak, but witty, quite funny, and quite intelligent. So see where that takes him on an adventure.
Excellent. Cool. So do you guys have any other kind of questions that may have come up in these descriptions, or anything you want to point out before we kind of get started on the second part of tonight?
How long have Dane and Lightenlord been together now? That's a pretty good question.
Yeah, I would leave that up to you guys, honestly. It's kind of whatever you want it to be.
I think at the very most it's measured in months.
I was gonna say maybe like 2 months.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
So, all right.
Good deal. Maybe you guys have like a single tournament under your belts.
Yeah, maybe even it was more like a farmers tournament, right? Where like you actually got to be like the big name that was gonna be there.
So it was pretty small then.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Definitely.
That's
Definitely.
where I would have fought you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
like a bunch of hedge knights, right? And so
And I was maybe the only actually landed noble there.
Yeah, I like that.
Cool. Yeah, because I was going to say, like, you said maybe only one tournament under our belts, and I think the first real tournament would be a good place to get my horse if I haven't had one already. But like a farmer's tournament, I mean, the best I could get is some really, bony, nasty little old horse thing. So
maybe for a little bit afterwards, we had like a little pack donkey that you won, and like I kept talking about. Well, I mean, you could ride her. She's we'll just exercise her.
No, don't worry about it, young Dane. Don't worry.
But you oughtn't be walking everywhere. It's just not right.
I shall bear this with dignity and grace. Yeah, no, I think that sounds great. And Tord, I guess we've known each other for about 2 months too then.
Yep, roughly.
Exciting.
Nice. Yeah, I would imagine that there might have been a little bit of curmudgeons at this tournament who were surprised and upset that they were allowing Tord to compete in their noble competition.
I had a shield and I had a sword, and I paid my dues. They had to let me in.
Yeah. Besides, it's not what's on a shield. It's what's in a knight's heart that really matters.
Yes, don't forget your lessons, young Dane.
Yeah.
I think that maybe like at least for like a week after, like the three of us traveled together, and so it was like my two dads for a bit because here's this squire with two knights.
2 men and a baby. I love it.
We didn't make eye contact that entire trip.
I polished so much armor though.
Awesome. Cool. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions or points of order to bring up, then we can roll into the second part of tonight. Yeah.
Before we get started, you said everybody had introduced their characters.
Yes.
Can I get? Well, I guess you could just put it in chat because I missed that completely. I didn't see what everybody's character name and what they were playing.
Okay.
Yeah, just drop it in chat. No big deal.
So if you guys could do that, that would be awesome. I should probably write them down also. Just in case.
Do we want to do our PC connection or NPC connections?
Yeah, if you guys want to, please introduce some of the setting and whatnot.
Yeah, I'll do that. So Tord was trained by Sir Warwick Mirth, who was essentially being hunted by the family that I believe took over the shield. And the person of interest here in my NPC connection is Lady Ravina Bassweb. She's one of the heiresses to the Bassweb family. I don't know if she is the leader of the family.
She is the Duchess.
She's the
Yeah,
Duchess.
she is the shield bearer.
All right, so she is the Duchess of House Bassweb. She was responsible for Sir Warwick's death, and basically now she wants to kill me because I've taken up his shield, and she wants them like eradicated from Vykaril itself. So she hates me. She hates everything I stand for. If she sees me, she'll try and kill me on sight. My second NPC connection is another road knight I met, Thomas Kane. He's from the complete opposite side of the country as me, whereas I'm from the east. He is from the coast, and he used to be a fisherman. So we both had like similar upbringings, but different methodologies. So he and I traveled for a while in my younger days and kind of pointed me in the direction of where I needed to go to continue being a knight. And then that does it for my NPCs.
Excellent. Cool. So, Baron, what was your rogue's name again for this evening?
My rogue's name is Dristan Blackbird.
Briston. Cool. And Josh, what was your character's name again for tonight?
Lady Sifrith Bexley.
All right.
I guess I can go over my NPC connections too. I just completely forgot about that. Let's see, so yeah, basically there are only a couple of key players in Edard's life. His parents, Sifana and Andor Bainton, who are the current curators of the library in the barony of Warrenton. There is a woman named Reagan, who is the court magician, or the court magic user for House Warrenton, and Barnaby, who owns the Stew and Brew Tavern in Warrenton, who serves the best whiskey of all time. And for Ariana, she all serves the best honey meat, I guess. Yeah, that's the one. But yeah, those are them.
Yep. Cool. So,
So John's got quite a few connections actually, because he's a noble. He's got retainers. But let me see what I've got here for my actual NPCs. I think it looks like actually we just decided to let the NPCs be, or my retainers be the only NPCs. Is that right?
I think you have your father as a connection, and Lady Adeline.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, Lady Laudine is one of them, and then my father, Lord Nicholas Lightnor. Yeah, and my feelings about my dad is that he's noble but misguided. I feel like House Lightnor has always been one of valor, not shrewdness, because this quartermaster thing has only been happening for the past 2 generations. So I want to reclaim that, and he doesn't want me to do it for some reason that he won't tell me, and that's really frustrating to me. But then I also have these retainers. So I have my servant, Bernard Bull, and he arranges my room and board. He manages affairs for me and for anybody traveling with me, of course. I also have a scribe, Zettel Bull. She's Bernard's wife. And she records my teachings and my correspondence, and she studies illumination and poetry, and low-key hates on my poetry behind my back because hers is way better than mine. And then I have this hunter who follows me around too, but I haven't been able to settle on a name I really like for him. Do you have like just a lowborn kind of country bumpkin kind of name that you could suggest for the setting?
I have a list of names.
Ooh, that would be wonderful.
Let's see. Male?
Yeah.
All right. Alium, Alnor, Ansel, Anson, Arden.
Ansel for sure. That sounds great.
All right.
So this guy's name is Ansel of the Valley, and he procures my fresh game during journeys. He scouts terrain. He mends my equipment, that sort of thing. When my squire is not doing it, of course. But let me see here. Bernard is particularly troublesome because he can't ever seem to pick something up without dropping it at least once. But that really pales in comparison to my buddy Ansel, because that old coot always finds himself up to his ears in trouble. It's pretty comical in good moments and really frustrating in bad moments, but it's fine. I mean, what do you do? They're your servants.
Hard to find good help these days, huh?
So hard. You have no idea.
All right. So yeah, if you guys are ready to roll into the second part, then I guess we can go ahead and probably take a little bit of a break. I know we've only been going at this for just under an hour, but we can go ahead and take our break before we start this next part. We may even be able to get through the whole thing without having to stop again. So go ahead and take 5 minutes, maybe 10. Everybody, thank you very much for tuning in this evening. Things should be getting a little bit more exciting here. Now that we've gotten to know everyone, we will be actually stepping into the boots of some other characters 50 years previous. And yeah, stay tuned. We'll get back and we'll finish this up. I have returned. Hello, everybody out there. If you are interested in such things, I linked the playlist that goes with this game in the chat. So check that out if you dig music. It's kind of themed to the games. Check the chat real quick. Looks like we got a few people stopping by. Thank you very much for tuning in. We got my buddy Dave from Mornblade Gaming. Good to see you, Dave. Darius Jonah. I am not familiar with you, but howdy. Nico Dawson. Great to stop by. Thank you very much, sir. Ooh, the resident artist herself has come. Hello, Rachel. Thank you for tuning in. We will be getting back to this in just a moment. Everybody has had a good weekend thus far. I know it is a Sunday evening, and therefore Monday is just around the corner, and that sucks a lot. But for the time being, at least, we have a few more hours we can squeeze in, because damn the man.
Yeah, damn him.
Okay. We'll give Josh another minute or two to get back before we'll get started here. Oh, no, he's here. Hello. Is everybody good to go?
I have one question before we go.
Sure thing.
How familiar are these characters with each other? Not very.
I would say most of them probably. Your thieves that you're going to play?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would say you guys are very familiar with one another.
Okay, cool. Just
Yeah.
making sure. Alrighty. And I work for you, Tristan. Just remember that.
How do you pronounce your name again?
Lady Sifrith Bexley, or Sif for short.
Can do.
Cool. All right. So. Black Flag stood at somber stillness, as if even the wind mourned the death of the late king. The whole world, struck with the enormity of such tragedy, seemed as though it had been brought to a standstill. Mathuran Gabrain wore the crown no more. The king is dead. Long live the king. You are thieves. People of ill station, sometimes ill fortune, that has brought you to a life of crime, of taking what you wanted instead of earning it. Sometimes by force, sometimes by subterfuge. You have worked together as a team for some time now. Months, maybe years, who knows. Doing jobs here and there. Usually for your own gain, but sometimes for the gain of others as well who are willing to pay you. This particular evening, you had an incredibly lucrative offer that fell into the lap of your group and made it damned impossible to pass up. Your employer paid you each 1,000 gold pieces upon completion of this task, and fronted you each 100 without even batting an eye. Each of you, if you would, as we're kind of joining this heist in the middle, describe something that your group has had to bypass or contend with thus far in order to find themselves standing outside the royal treasury of Mathuran Gabrain.
Wasn't gonna be any dogs, she said. I said there's gonna be dogs. Oh, there won't be any dogs. I said there's gonna be dogs. Killed 4 of them so far, and I hear more of them barking. Damned if I ever listen to a woman again. Present company accepted.
So there's a moment when we're trying to get inside this place, and we're in the door at least, but we've got to get to the next phase of this thing, and there are all of these guards who are keeping us from being able to sneak down this hallway. And so Gwyneth, she's not dressed for action just yet. She's wearing an evening gown. She's got her gear kind of stowed away under her skirts, hiding and that sort of thing. And she walks up to these guards and she's like, "Oh, hello. Please let me know. Have you ever heard of the marvelous miracle poultice Gob? Please let me give you a free sample." And after a little bit of schmoozing, she manages to rub this poultice on their forearm, and they are passed out almost immediately afterward. And then the rest of the crew can run through and kind of drag them out of the way.
So I think Dristan and Nyx actually worked together. We were the ones that actually probably got us through the gates in the first place. Dristan was probably like, "Nyx, please go distract the guards, and I'll come from behind and slit his throat."
And Nyx would have gleefully done that for Tristan. She looks up to this guy. He's kept her alive on the street so far, so that's what he wants her to do. That's what she's going to do. And so she went up to the guards, looking for, "For mommy, I've lost my mommy. I don't know where I am." And keeping the guards completely distracted, Tristan was able to get behind him, do his thing.
And with the flick of a razor blade, his throat opened up. And I would bend down and give you a piece of candy or something like that. That's a good girl, Nyx. Now onward.
Thank you.
How old is Tristan?
It's hard to tell. Most of his extremities are wrapped in bandages, and he's patchy hair. He was in a serious fire in the past, and it kind of makes sense for why I'm so incredibly weak. Is I have serious burns.
Yikes.
I'm probably terrifying, to be completely honest.
So, as we're making our way past the incapacitated guards, I imagine that, let's see, we got Gwyneth, Nix, and Runt go ahead and pass through. And as Dristan's about to cross through the threshold, you just get this strong arm around your collar. And Sif pulls you close and she says, "Do you think it's going to be worth it? We could have been halfway to Calder by now. How did we end up here? Don't you think this is a... Don't you think they have more than this? Security?"
With like a very like frail looking hand, he would like caress your face. "Oh, Sif, I always was a sucker for a pretty face. But do you think," and his eyes probably are like dilating at just talking about the treasure, "the sheer opportunity to rob Mathuran's treasury will be in the history books, Sif. This is more important than what's in there. I hope we get caught."
I hates it when he talks like that.
Well, that's pretty stupid if you ask me. Well, on then, let's go.
So, as you have made your way from what is likely the bowels of this castle, the capital of the kingdom itself, and worked your way kind of slowly up the darkened hallways, taking advantage of the fact that the world is in mourning. One of you, if you would, somebody volunteer. Baron, I saw your hand first. Okay. So, Tristan, if you would please tell me how it was that you found a locket that has a portrait of a mesmerizing young woman depicted inside of it.
From time to time, Dristan, he gets bored, and he and Nyx were casually looking for people to rob, and we seen an exchange between two knights. I guess most people wouldn't have recognized them as knights, but Dristan, he has people all over giving him information, so he may have even heard of this deal going down, and through a chance of fate, potentially, he's seen the picture, and he fell in love with the woman. He has a weak spot for women in general, so he and Nyx followed the knight after the exchange, and we robbed him.
And the woman in this locket, she's not just attractive to you. She haunts your waking moments, your non-waking moments even. Her eyes seem to always follow you. They always seem to be watching, regardless of the angle you hold this medallion, this locket at. You know, you've come to find out through talking to various fences and other people that this locket is magical. It has one usage of the spell counterspell on it. So all of these moments have brought you to this place, just outside the royal treasury, where you know inside there's probably all manner of untold valuables. But in particular, you were charged with stealing one chest in particular and bringing it to the royal carriage house so that it may be smuggled out of the castle. You were told that you would know the correct chest because it would be located inside this room, for one. And for two, the lock upon it would bear the mark of Clan Gazanlock, which is a group of dwarven locksmiths that live far to the east in the mountains that kind of line the edge of your kingdom. But they're known for their lock-making skills. And the lock upon this chest will bear their clan's emblem on it somewhere. And that's how you're supposed to identify this chest that you're supposed to bring.
You said we're supposed to bring the chest to the royal stables or something?
Yes, yeah, the carriage house. Okay. So, if you would, guys, you are outside of this locked and trapped door. Please tell me how you're going to gain entry.
Well,
I think some of you sneaky characters can put some work in. I'm only here to fight anyway.
So let's see here. Gwyneth is not right next to the door. She's a little moved away, and she's looking back to kind of make sure that nobody's sneaking up behind us. But at the same time, she's gathering her evening dress, and she's girding her loins with it. She's like tying the dress into pants. And then all the stuff that she's been hiding in her skirt, she's taking out and putting on. So she's got like a short sword and a little crossbow that she's carried around. And she looks back at the door and she's like, I didn't bring any lockpicks. I'm not sure how we're going to get past this terrible obstacle of ours.
Yeah, leave it to the lady with everything in her dress. Not bring lockpicks.
You'd see Driston like, oh my, this lock is beautiful. Let me see what I can do. I'm gonna try and sleight of hand. Just kind of trial and error. I'm used to being in scenarios like this, so I'm sure this wouldn't put me too out of my comfort zone.
Do you happen to have these tools?
I certainly do.
Cool. So if you are proficient with those, go ahead and make sure you add that bonus as well.
And Nyx is actually standing right over his shoulder, watching him do this, taking pointers and kind of telling them what to do and not do at certain times. So she'd like to aid him.
Excellent. So you can have advantage on the roll as well.
Ah, Nyx, what would I do without you? I can't even see without me good eye. All right, we're looking at a 21.
All right, so you managed to get to work on this this lock that's in this very heavy oaken door that is also iron-bound. So you know busting this thing down would be next to impossible. You crouch down and you get to work on this mechanism, and this is actually also a lock that is made by Clan Gazanlock. You can see its emblem kind of in the bottom just beneath the keyhole. Sometimes this is also put on things just as a warning, or sometimes even faked as a deterrent to rogues. But you're fairly certain that this is legitimately a Gazanlock product. So you get to kind of sliding your thieves' tools in there, and you're working them around, kind of getting the tumblers to fall into place. And it's minutes have gone by. This is a very complicated lock.
Come on. We didn't kill all of them.
Shush. We'll get it. Now, Nyx, hold this pick while I get at it again.
And Nyx is telling you, you're going in from the wrong side. You need to do it up here.
I've heard he has that problem.
So, after several minutes, though, finally, you feel that last tumbler slide into position, and you feel it give way. The door, it would appear, is unlocked.
All right, Runt, you're so impatient. You go first. Impatient isn't stupid.
I agree. Do you really think it would be that easy?
Do you think if any of us could have done it, it wouldn't have already been robbed? Don't suppose you got one of them long poles up your skirt?
Oh no, but well, I've got some gob here. Maybe that'll help us with something. She takes them off and she puts it on her own forearm, and she's totally fine. Screws the lid back on and puts it away.
The hell is that stuff anyway?
Oh, gob? Well, it's an all-natural compound.
We're not going to get rich standing out here. All right, stand aside.
And I'll walk up and I'll move to like gently push the door, and right before I do that, I'm just gonna boot the ever living crap out of it. Like just boom.
You give it a good boot, and the door flies open, and as it does so, a small bolt of lightning jumps from the door handle into the bottom of your boot. If you would please make a Constitution saving throw.
I would love to do that. $14.
Okay. 14, unfortunately, is not going to pass. You take 21 points of lightning damage.
I fall over.
What does that look like to everyone?
So I imagine that there's this, like, it's pretty dark, you know. Most of the torches near us we've dimmed. And so there's this thud and this slap as the door swings so far open it either hits the wall or something on the other side of it. And then there is this, like, eye-peeling blue light. And then just a... as a... not Runty, as his name would make you think, as a, like, 7-foot tall half-orc goes flying 10 feet behind and lays there with these sort of pulsing bluish black lines burnt through his everything. I'm exactly 0 hit points, so you get this, like, as he lays there dying.
So you said we could have some potions. I didn't list those, but I think like a healing potion would definitely be something that I would have. Could I come over and help Runt out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, so Gwyneth is going to come up to Rust and kind of kneel down and be like, 4 out of 10 wizards agree that Gob is wonderfully restorative when exposed to lightning wounds, and she's going to unscrew some of it and like rub it onto his feet, and that'll be the equivalent of the healing
Let
potion.
me die.
I don't think you hear you, love.
If you survive this, I swear you'll be all the better for it.
Gwyneth, we need him to carry the chest.
Yes, I know. That's what the Gob's for. It's wonderfully restorative.
You are certainly a treasure, old gal.
Okay, so I need to roll 2d4 plus 2 hit point, or 2. Yeah, anyway, let's see. This is going to be 8 total hit points back for our friend Runt.
Now, Nix, that's exactly why we don't open the door.
My Runt, what big toes you have.
They're from my mom's side.
So I'll sort of sit up to my butt, my hands on my knees, wiggling my toe out through my boot where there is no longer a toe portion of the boot.
Door's
Just to give you
open.
So while Gwyneth is, rubbing Runt's feet all lovely, Nyx is actually peering in through that open door now, trying to see what's inside the room. She's down on her knees, like on the floor, looking in.
This room, beyond this door, is black as pitch, black as night. So much so that the torchlight that's in this hallway, the braziers and things that are casting light here, it stops abruptly at the threshold of the door in a perfect line.
And she would reach over to Tristan and kind of pull on his tunic a little bit, and she's like, "I've never seen darkness like this before. What is this?"
Seems magical in origin, if you ask me. Do any of you have a guess? I guess I can roll to see if I know it.
If you'd like, you can roll Arcana or maybe History.
I don't think I'm proficient in either of those, so.
I've got insight, if that makes a difference.
Looking at a 10.
So you know of some spells that reproduce darkness. It's possible that this could be that, but it's not something you've ever come across or dealt with before, apparently.
So Dristan's probably like, this just keeps getting more and more interesting.
Who brought the torches? I don't seem to have had any room for them in my dress, but I hope someone brought some torches.
So Runt gets back to his feet. He walks with a little bit of a plop flop now as the sole of his boot has become detached. The glue is just heated up way too much. But he approaches the door and he sticks his hand near it, and you can see the darkness in there sort of ply out as though he were working it like putty. And in his other hand, he does the exact same thing. Runt is a Way of the Shadow monk, and so he can feel this energy.
Oh, it's darkness, all right. Magical kind. Torches ain't gonna help. Got to. Gonna need some magical light.
Magical light? Well, she's gonna search through her dress and see if she remembered anything. And no, I'm sorry, but I don't seem to have brought any magical light. Does anyone have some?
This, I think Nyx would really be tugging on Tristan's tunic at this point, and she's like, the locket.
Tristan's probably actually like fumbling with it in his pocket. The locket. Yes, let me see where I've put it. Could I use that counter spell to get rid of the darkness, Jeremy? Or attempt to?
Possibly. I'm trying to remember. I think Counterspell might be...
I'm looking for it right now.
I think it's a spell that's being cast.
Yeah, a creature within 60 feet of you casting a spell.
Yeah, because otherwise you're looking for Dispel Magic.
Gotcha. No, I don't think this will work, Nyx.
Nyx definitely looks crestfallen at that. She's like, all the wind has just gone out of her sails. She thought she had a great idea. But...
I'd like pat your head.
Now, don't get discouraged. The way of our living is trial and error. Hopefully, more trials and less errors. Yes, much less errors. Learn from the mistakes of others, little girl, and you'll make it just fine. Yes. Don't listen to any strange old men. It's not good for my health. Well, there can't be that many chests in there. Just go in, bring him out here where there's not darkness, and find the right one.
Should you like to try and go first again?
I'm about to throw your ass in there.
Yes, I suppose that's fair.
So, what kind of a surface are we walking on right now? Is it like paved brick?
In the hallway outside, yeah, it would be like placed worked stone. Actually, here in the palace, it would probably actually be like decorative. So there'd be pieces of marble and stone of different color that's kind of laid in a pattern on the floor.
Is there anywhere that I can see that there's like a divot in any of the stone in the ground?
Roll me a perception check.
No, that's a 3.
Yeah, I mean, this is immaculate work, probably better than anything you've ever come across before. The craftsmanship, you wouldn't even begin to understand how this was made.
It looks otherworldly.
Very much so.
Look, I don't profess to know much about magic, but unless there's someone like me in there constantly doing this, it's got to be tied to some object. Why don't you go in there, move things about, and we'll let you know if the darkness shifts.
Well, perhaps it's not even something that's in there. What if it's out here? I wonder. So Gwyneth is going to look around. I want to make a perception roll and see if I can see any sort of like mechanism or object that seems to be the source of this thing. That is a 23.
So as you're looking about, perhaps you have actually seen things that are not quite this immaculate before, Gwyneth, but perhaps close in design. And you notice that there's one small square that's close to the door, probably within a step, that is made of this red stone that is in this repeating pattern. There's something about that one piece of red stone that really has caught your eye and kind of bothers you. Though the stone itself is variegated, it's all fairly close in tone. This one square is just a couple of shades too dark to fit in seamlessly.
Oh, well, look at this. Some craftsman's done just a terrible job here. This all of the floor is so pretty with this design of a sunburst and a dragon there. It's just delightful. But here, if you see this stone, it's not the right color. I say, in my own manner, it would be much different. We would have exactly the right color there. I wonder. She's going to go over and just like touch it with her toe, kind of from a distance.
When you do so, it just kind of gives a little in place. Just wiggles ever so slightly when you put pressure on it.
Oh. Well, and it's loose to boot. Can you believe it? She's going to actually walk over and like stamp on it reproachfully.
And when you do so, there is a noise. And before your eyes, the stone actually shifts in color to the appropriate tone.
Ah, that's better.
And those of you looking in the door see that slowly the darkness in the room starts to kind of fade, almost like fog is drifting down towards the floor. The darkness kind of, for lack of a better term, drains until you're able to see in the room. It is lit. It does appear magically so, because there are no windows in here. And the room is large. I would say 100 feet on a side, probably. And the ceiling is about 15 feet high. And there's racks and crates and all kinds of things that line the walls. And then in the interior, there are armor racks, weapon racks, pedestals, cases of glass and things like that that contain all manner of jewelry, weaponry, armor, odds and ends. And there are sacks and sacks of coins and gemstones and jewelry just piled in here.
See, I told you, not too many chests in there.
But what wonders! Can you imagine the goop I could produce, or the gob I could produce with just one sack of this treasure? This is amazing.
Look, goop yourself on your own time. Let's have at it, shall we?
Yes, quite. I can and do gob myself on my own time, by the way, and everyone should. It's wonderfully restorative. And then she's going to walk inside and start observing some of these treasures. If there's a particularly nice necklace, she might take it.
I look down at Nyx, and I put my big old mitt on your shoulder.
Oh, don't touch anything she touches. Probably got some of her goop on it.
And Nyx looks up at you. Up to this point, she's been kind of staring into the room, just like her eyes, like Bambi wide open, just looking at all the treasures. But then as soon as you said that, she's like, she kind of shudders a little bit. She's like, oh, I didn't even think of it.
Well, treasure aside, I mean, Runt wants to be rich like everybody else does, right? But we have a job, and it's this chest. And so while everyone else is window shopping, assumably, I'm looking for a chest.
Yeah, you head in, Runt, and you start kind of looking around, same as everyone else. However, your eyes have a different prize they're looking for. And so while everyone else kind of congregates towards the center of the room where all of these things are more on display, you have kind of found yourself kind of back in the corner, almost like this portion has been forgotten about. You know, some of the things look like they've been here for a while. However, there's one chest that definitely stands out. The chest is very sturdily made. And upon closer inspection, you find a very, very nice lock hanging from it. And peeking behind the lock, you find the emblem of Clan Gazenlock.
Well, ladies and gents, I believe this is what we came for. No, don't worry. I'll get it. Don't everyone speak up at once. Let me just pick it up. Wouldn't want to get in the way of your shopping.
Gwyneth continues to look on in silence.
As does Nyx. Nyx is incredibly odd about all the treasures around. And if there's like a little kind of a jeweled mirror, she would probably pocket that.
Sif actually hasn't even entered the room. She's standing facing the path that led in. She doesn't want to go in there. She doesn't want to see anything that's in there. She just wants for Tristan to get what he came for the contract, and we're out of here.
Tristan has been like almost like when you pet a cat that's sleeping, like it chirps. Tristan has been like, oh my, we made it, Nyx, we made it. We're famous. We're famous. I'm looking for, I mean, I'm a street performer, thief who has been around for a while. Is there any items in here that I'll be aware of that are kind of like old wives' tales, or like a thieves' dream, like some sort of skeleton key or invisibility cloak or something like that?
Absolutely. Eli, What is it that he finds?
It's not a key. It's a locket, and this locket has you open it up, and it's got this intricate, crafted sort of protuberance sort of thing. And when you put it up to the lock, they match together really well.
That's what I would be looking for. My second locket.
I like them all.
They're like pogs. And I don't know if it's in like a case of some kind or anything, but I would try to like Indiana Jones it with like something from my pack, like a sandbag or something that I can swap this thing out.
Just leave a half-eaten apple.
Hanging from a chain. Did you weigh that? I sure did.
Why do you think I took 2 bites?
I'm not even hungry.
Well, if you're done getting your jewelry.
And after taking that, I would sneak up on Nyx and actually drop it into her pocket without her knowing. Or then turn to Runt. Go on. Pick it up.
So I bend over to grab it, and right before my hands hit it, I turn to look at you.
If there's one more lightning bolt.
Well, that's the name of the game, don't you know? That's what you hired for. It's in your contract. Lightning bolt catcher.
Oh, but you know what? Perhaps it might be worth looking at it all the same. Let me just see here.
That's not nearly as good. I only got a 14 this time to try and perceive some sort of trap.
No, I mean, it looks like it's just kind of sitting on top of this small stone platform that looks like it was meant to basically raise this to like naval height, so it's easier to get in and out of.
Oh, well, I'm sure it's fine. It looks so wonderfully presented. I can't imagine that there's a trap inside here.
So Runt looks at it. He looks back at everybody else, who I imagine most have stopped, like they're pilfering to see if Runt dies again. And he has this image of all those suits of armor and weapons somehow coming to life.
Got a bad feeling about this. Sif, is there anything you want?
Sif would just take the slowest look over her shoulder, and there's really only one thing in here that she wants. Does she see a shield bearing the crest of Mathuran's knights? I forget which house it is.
So Mathuran had the shield for the House of Gabrain, which is one of the 15 shields, and it is in possession currently of a different family, the family that has stepped into the monarch, the House Shom. So looking in here, you certainly see a lot of things that bear the red and gold or the silhouetted stag's head of House Gabrain, but not a shield.
No, I think I'm good.
So I scoop up like a small bag of gems, maybe like a 5-pound bag of sugar size of gems.
I'm not gonna have a bitching at me later. We didn't get her anything.
And I just like clunk it down on top of the chest, and then I attempt to lift this chest.
You reach down and grab a hold of either side of this chest. This chest is probably about 4 feet long, and you go to pick this up. It weighs a considerable amount, but the thing that is really shocking is from somewhere in the center of the ceiling, suddenly these magical orbs, about the size of maybe a fist, zoom down and unerringly strike all of you who are in the room. So for Drisden, you're going to take 6 points of force damage. For Gwyneth, you're going to take 7 points of force damage. For Nyx, goodness, 8 points. And
You're rolling the wrong way.
right, and for Runt, 7.
Whew.
Can I attempt to protect Nyx in some way?
You can make a dexterity saving throw.
No, I got 5. No, 7.
So your instincts kind of kick in and you do move in her direction. However, these things are very fast and they zip around you and collide with her all the same.
Oh, sorry, Nyx. I tried. You all right?
Oh, that hurt. And with that, I think that kind of knocks her out of the awe that she had, and she's just going to grab the nearest thing, whatever it happened to be, and she's going to book it out the door.
Is it like an audible like shock or like force?
Yeah, I imagine there's probably like a kind of noise as these things zip out from wherever they sourced from.
There's also a very audible, "Ugh! Damn it!" as I return to 1 hit point.
Yeah, with the when the sound would have made itself prevalent, Sif would have turned around and seen Tristan laying on the ground. She would have booked it inside and like started to kind of help him to his feet. Come on now, man, we're not gonna get paid like that.
You're absolutely right, Sif.
And I would actually reach into my bag. I've got some rope from my burglar's kit. I'd kind of like to fashion it into like there's like moving harnesses where you have like support from your back and then a strap that goes under like the washing machine or whatever, and then someone has it on the other side. Kind of rig something up for Runt and someone else to hoist this thing up.
You need a hand with that, right?
You know I would love one.
Have I even physically managed to move this? I mean, I didn't die from this attack.
Yeah, you did manage to lift it free from the
All
platform
right,
that it was sitting
so no, I'm at the smack of that force. I am bleeding from my ears, perhaps even my eyes at this point, and I just let out this, and I like spittle flies. It lands on all his pristine armor. There's even this like little flash of shadow for a moment, and I'm like monk moving out of this room. Like, nah, I'm done with this.
As you are headed towards the door, you get about halfway through the room when you hear a ding, 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 and you hear voices as it sounds like the alarm has been risen.
All right. So, continuing my movement, I look back and you can hear Runt, who maybe isn't so smart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Damn it! And so he counts through however many of us are, and then he stops, and there's this flash of black across his eyes as he swings his arm, and you can feel a shadow just rush over you for a moment, but everyone will be affected by Pass Without Trace. So you'll have +10 to your stealth, and you cannot be detected or tracked without magical means.
So those of you who are paying attention as Runt does this, the shadow seems to like pull off of not only like the columns and things in the hallway, but also a large portion of it actually comes out of that stone that had been touched earlier by Gwyneth.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is all exit music.
Very well, let us go.
So does Run actually pick the chest up, or do you just book it
No,
out
I
of it?
have it, and I'm about halfway through the room at this point.
I'll come over and give you a hand just to make sure you weren't too weighed down.
It's fine with me.
And with the two of you carrying this, it's much easier to manipulate the weight of it.
Gwyneth is going to kind of sneak along, probably up ahead. And while she's going, she's going to produce another one of her jars and smear some gob on her short sword. Although you notice at this point that she's actually got a few different jars of gob that are different colors. The stopper on the top is tied with a different ribbon on each one of them. And this one is a green one that she's spreading on her short sword.
So I look at Sif as we're running.
Hope she doesn't get him confused this time. Last thing we need is some singing gods.
That girl is a wonder for sure.
That's a word for it.
All right. So you grab this chest and you run as fast as you can, shrouded in the shadow afforded you by your half-orc monk. And you come down a flight of stairs, and there is a contingent of house guards who are headed straight for the staircase that you're coming down. And they all kind of stop, almost kind of skidding to a halt halfway across this space towards the staircase in disbelief as they're watching this kind of shifty, dark mass kind of move down the staircase. And one of them looks to the other one. There's about 5 of them. One of them looks to the other in the front and says, "It's witchcraft. That's black magic, it is." They definitely look like they're close to spooking, though they have their swords drawn.
Black magic it is. I'm going to eat you. Don't you know that's how we do it?
Yeah, can I try and like intimidate them? Shout some discouraging words at them to maybe get them run away.
Shout some discouraging words.
You'll
can
never
certainly
get your
try.
grace.
You'll never beat us.
Never.
Go ahead. And I would say this is probably charisma based. Still.
Intimidation?
Yes. Yeah.
Begone, or the ghast will have ye. And this doesn't sound anything like a voice you've heard Driscoll talk with. He, you wouldn't recognize this voice. Hoo-hoo. 19.
A few of the individuals seem to not buy it. They seem to stand their ground. 2 of them in the middle. However, the others just completely turn and run. One of them actually even drops his sword where he was standing and just runs as fast as he can into one of the offshoots of this room. So there are 2 that are remaining, and they seem like they're intending to do you harm. Everyone, if you could please, roll initiative. Okay. And we got Sif with an 18, and Runt with a 14, Tristan with a 12, Nyx with an 11, and Gwyneth with a 3.
Goop's got me muddled in my brain.
Apparently. That'll do that to you. Okay. So, Sif, you are the first to react. as it's clear that these two aren't going to be moving.
Okay. So I have, we're like kind of up some stairs.
Yes.
Okay, so I think my initial thought process is that she immediately drops her into the chest. So sorry to run, but I would like to roll an athletics to jump from out of the cloud with her shield brandished like yay, and attempt to like land on one of them.
Fantastic. Yes, please roll.
$17 for the athletics.
That will positively make contact and bypass his defenses. So let's see, damage-wise. Let's do a D10. No, let's do 2D6 plus your strength.
Would you say bludgeoning damage?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I imagine Sif just kind of like drops the end of the chest, says, sorry, run, and jumps out of the cloud. Just comes down with the shield on top of this fully armored fellow. I mean, she's wearing like chainmail, but this guy's in like some legit armor. She's basically just looking to kind of immobilize this guy for the moment.
So you don't want to roll damage?
No, I'd probably rather just knock him prone if you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. With what you rolled, particularly. Yeah, he kind of just collapses, unsuspecting, underneath the weight of you, kind of falling from halfway up the staircase. The shield just collides into kind of the shoulder and like pec on his left side. He's not able to get his shield up fast enough, and he collapses to the ground. Runt, you're up.
So, catching the weight of this this chest, as the back end of it perhaps is dropped. Runt, there's a bit of a disregard for other people's property, and essentially it's other people's property. I mean, if it was his property, we wouldn't be stealing it. And so he quickly turns and just hucks the chest at the other guard.
Hey, hold this for me.
Absolutely. Do a strength-based attack roll, please.
It'll be 16 without proficiency or 18 with, depending on how you want that.
Since it's an improvised weapon, I would say without your proficiency, unless you have proficiency with improvised weapons. But his armor class is a 16, so it doesn't make a difference. You've managed to make contact with him. So is the intent the same, just to knock him prone?
Yeah, like if I could send him, basically ass over tea kettle down the stairs a little bit, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, okay. So we'll actually say that this one guard in particular had actually mounted the first bottom two steps or whatever. You throw this to him, and he reaches out and catches it, having to drop at least his longsword. His shield is still kind of strapped to his arm. So he kind of reaches out and catches this thing and definitely falls over backwards from the inertia and lands hard on his back. Kind of, you hear the wind kind of leave his lungs. Dristan.
Both these people are prone, correct?
Yes, they are.
So could I get them with a sneak attack?
Yeah, because you have advantage on the attack.
Okay. So I'm still like brimming with excitement and eagerness about just the shenanigans we're in right now. And the one that Lady Sif had landed on, I'm going to run up with my short sword that I've kind of pulled from my belt, and I'm going to try and just knife this guy savagely. What is my... We're looking at a 15.
So you jump down, and that's with advantage, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, you jump down next to where this guard has landed, and he is doing his best to try to get out from under the weight of Lady Sif. He's just not able to do it quite yet. And you come up and drag your blade across his body, hoping to spill his innards. However, his chain shirt that must be beneath this padded jerkin prevents that from happening.
Damn it, Nix, come give this a try.
It is Nyx's turn.
Nyx was already in motion. She was noticing how Tristan had already got his sword and was going after the one guy. So she was en route to the other one, doing the same thing. She's got her sword out, and he's kind of fighting with that chest. So while he's distracted, she's going to try to basically slit his throat if she could.
Okay.
So sneak attack try.
And yeah, he is prone, so you'll have advantage on the attack.
So that would be a 19.
And that will absolutely hit him.
So that's 7 points and 7 sneak. So 14 damage.
And yeah, what does it look like as you end this guy's life?
So she's kind of like this little bullet. She just kind of tears down those stairs towards this guy who's fighting with the chest. And almost, you can't even really see it almost in this one like little motion as she's running past him. She just slices her knife across the guy's throat, going and turns around to get ready for the next guy. And you can slowly see that she hit him really well, and the blood just starts to slowly ooze, and then the guy just collapses.
Absolutely. His neck had kind of been raised, kind of straining under the weight of this chest to try to right himself, and you cut deep into the vein on the side of his neck, and he's gone completely lax back against the ground, and the blood, as it starts to kind of pour out, forms this really bizarre pattern as it kind of goes through the coif of his chainmail before it finally touches and joins into a larger pool and spreads beyond that. It is the remaining guard's turn. He is going to shove Lady Sif off of him and roll to his side where he gets to his feet and brandishes the spear that he's wielding. Oh, actually, I said it was a sword, yes. So he is going to bring his longsword to bear. And he's going to do so against you, Tristan. What is your armor class?
That's a fantastic question, Jeremy. You see, armor class is a very functional stat here in D&D. I'm a 13.
Well done.
While he works at his armor class, I would like to use my reaction to use protection to impose disadvantage because he's within 5 feet of me.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Wow. Okay. So, what does that look like, Sif? How do you basically change this strike that would have hit true into one that misses?
But I imagine when he comes up, it's like kind of in a hurry. He's scrambling to get to his feet, and he just kind of jabs forward with his long sword. And Sif just kind of bats it away with the shield. No touching the old man.
You're a treasure, dear, truly.
He kind of looks at both of you, a little bit of blood coming out of his nose. Do you have any idea who you're robbing? What you're doing?
Do you have any idea who's robbing you?
No good thieves. That's who. You all hang by the neck if I don't run you through first. Gwyneth, your turn.
Almost immediately after he says, you'll all hang by the neck if I don't finish you first, she just screams, "Oh, by gob, this won't do at all!" And she's going to charge forward and do an attack with her short sword. And so let me see here. This is with advantage because I'm in melee with my allies. And I have sneak attack. So let's see here. It's going to be, 19 on both die. So that's going to be 23 total.
Will absolutely make contact.
And that's 15 damage total.
What does it look like?
So she just runs forward, and she's not used to handling a short sword at all. She doesn't prefer to do this, but the gob guided her hand, and she just flew forward, and she over the top of her head slams the sword down right on the guy's chest, and he kind of expires right there in front of everyone. And then she like lets go of the sword, and she's like, "Oh no!"
Well done, well done.
So these two guards have been slain. The room, although empty, is hardly quiet as the alarm bells and the shouts and footfalls of the rest of the palace seem to have been roused. You are in this room with the staircase with a chest lying on top of this bloodied guard. What do you want to do?
Back to it, ladies and gents.
And I'll run, grab this chest, and it's maybe the only person that it's creepy to is Gwyneth, but trucking even through the spilt blood of these guards, we're still not leaving footprint at all. So like it's like splot, 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 and then there's just no trace of that at all.
Actually, that's really nice. Gwyneth notices, and she's like, "Oh,
Well, I'm nice and clean. Wonderful.
So I would imagine that we had some at least vague plan of what the fastest way out of here.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely one of those like run up the hallway, shoulder open that door, and I'm gonna stand there holding the chest. Come on, come on.
Absolutely. And you guys continue to make your way kind of further down and down these levels of this enormous palace as you're making your way towards the carriage house as fast as you can along the planned route that you had. Several members of your network of spies and whatnot have given you the layout of this place. You know which doors are unlocked and which ones aren't, which ones are unlikely to have as many guards and things of that nature. And eventually, you do make your way down to where it's basically just a short jaunt to the carriage house from where you're at. It's a long hallway that actually has like tapestries hanging down both sides that kind of tell the history of the kingdom. And you're running down this hallway, as you can see. Torchlight and things from outside through these stained glass windows of the people that are starting to close in on your location. You're running down towards the end of this corridor that has kind of an open arch doorway at the end, when all of a sudden a shadowed figure steps into that doorway. An individual who stands taller and broader than the guards that you had fought just a moment before. An individual who is much more heavily armored. He is a knight of the House of Shom. He stands with his sword drawn, but at his side. And when he speaks, his voice is authoritative. Bordering on arrogance. Probably not even bordering on arrogance, to be truthful. He stands in the doorway, shield drawn, and says, "You go no further." He points the sword towards you. "Place down the chest, and I'll leave one of you alive to stand trial for what you've done here today." Do it not. I will cut down every last one of you.
My good knight, you simply misunderstand the scenario. You've got all this killing business all wrong. For you see, it will be us killing you, Knight of Shome. This will be the excellent ending to our story.
Then come, withered man, meet your demise. Starting at the top of the initiative order, Sif.
So imagine that it's kind of like kind of wide open in this corridor. Sif just brandishes her shield and holds out her long sword kind of at her side. Just shield up, walks out, and just takes point. Doesn't attack. Just kind of forms a human barricade between her and the old man. I'd like to ready in action. If he comes forward to try and attack, then I will attack. But otherwise, I'm standing still.
Okay. He takes a couple of steps forward so that he is fully in front of the door frame, and looks like he is probably readying as well, waiting for you to close with him because he doesn't necessarily want to give up this doorway. Runt, you're up. You're muted, Steve.
Oh, so oh boy, the gods, these knights. And so I set the chest down, and I just very personally hold up like one finger to him, and I'm going to drink my healing potion because, I mean, one hit point ain't gonna get me far.
It's the truth of it.
And then I huck the vial at him. Like, I'm not trying to do any damage. It's more like insult, right? Just like a glug glug glug.
Right, and almost as casually as Runt has thrown this glass vial at him, he just raises his shield up and lets it shatter against it harmlessly. Sure,
Right then.
Okay. The healing is 2d4 plus 2.
Yeah, let's hope I roll good.
Yeah, I hope so, man. In meantime, Dristan, you're up.
I am maintaining my position behind Sif for the moment. Is there any like torches or anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Mostly braziers, but there are torches as well.
Okay. Then can I'm gonna try and attack this guy coming from the side around Sif. With just an attack. Is that with advantage because I'm within melee range of my teammate?
No, as of right now, you're the only person who has closed with him.
Oh, okay.
However, he had a ready to action.
Okay.
For anybody that was closing with him. So he is going to swing at you as you close. This sword is very, very large. You get the feeling that if he chose to do so, he could probably put both hands upon it. Okay. What is your AC again? 13?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to hit.
Not close enough to impose disadvantage, or is it because you stepped
up? Because you had a ready to action, I would say that you were intentionally trying to protect Dristan, that you probably moved up with him. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that. I move up with him. That way I'm kind of like, just up there. I'll put myself in that position.
Right. So the knight brings up his sword, intending to strike at the approaching Dristan, and all of a sudden, Sif is there, and her shield is interposed, and the sword clashes against the shield instead, missing, but not by very, very much. And Sif, the force behind this strike was surprising. This man is definitely strong. But it is Dristan's turn.
So with his slash kind of coming down on Sif's shield, I turned her and wink with my, disformed eye, mouth, disfigured. And where the joint in his arm plate mail there from his extension of the blow, I'm going to try and shove my short sword in the opening. Oh, yeah. 16 plus 4, unnatural 20.
Excellent. So, yes, this manages to bypass his considerable defenses.
We are looking at 9 damage.
And though you try to impale your short sword into his arm, you do not manage to quite do so, but you do nick the inside of his forearm quite bad, and it doesn't take long at all before you can see blood starting to run out of the bottom of his gauntlet.
And then as my bonus action,
Nick Spear, dear, come help us.
which just being mastermind rogue, I can use help as a bonus action.
Excellent, cool. And I think help can be applied to an attack, if I'm not mistaken. So, although if Nyx is a rogue, she would have advantage anyways on the attack because there are others of you who are closed with him. And it is Nyx's turn.
So yeah, Nyx, seeing that these two have closed in on him, she was kind of hiding behind Tristan in the first place when they were running. And she kind of sees an opening, and she's going to go for it. And she's basically going to, like, while he's busy looking at them, she's going low, and she's going to try to attack down by his legs, trying to find a weak spot in the around his thigh area.
Absolutely.
So I have advantage, right?
You do, yes.
That is a 16.
Though the strike would have hit true on a normal target, this man is wearing so much armor that it simply glances off of yet another metal plate that you find beneath some of these tabards and things that he's wearing.
Okay, and as a bonus action, she's going to use disengage to basically go between his legs. Now she's going to be behind him, away from him. If
Okay.
she can.
Yeah, so she's kind of through the doorway now, just beyond it. And that brings us to Gwyneth.
Gwyneth is real nervous about this. She does not want to engage with this guy. So she's got her short sword, but she's going to pull out this crossbow that she brought with her as well, and she's going to shoot that instead. Let's see here. So I don't get sneak attack just because my friends are in melee when I'm not, right?
Not unless you are a rogue, so you have sneak attack.
Yeah.
Yes. If an ally is engaged with your target, you have advantage on the attack.
Great. All right. So that is going to be a 19 to hit.
Yes, that will just barely bypass this heavy plate he's wearing.
Okay, and then damage. Let's see here. This is going to be 13 damage total.
Excellent. So this bolt kind of finds a weak spot under his armpit, whereas he's kind of raising his shield once again, and it grazes the skin there, again cutting the fabric and his body underneath. But he is certainly still fighting. So Oh, did I miss his turn?
I think this explains the 1,000 gold.
I think I missed his turn.
The
Okay.
knight
Yeah.
had a ready action.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So we are back to the top of the round with Sif. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, after watching Nyx kind of duck in between the legs and him catch that wayward bolt in the armpit, if he were any bit off guard, she would ready her longsword and just kind of come across with it and see if she can do any damage. One-handed, by the way, because she's wielding the shield in the other hand. So. Ooh, that's a 24 to hit.
Yes, absolutely connects.
1 second, I'm still getting used to D&D Beyond. And for a total of 6 damage.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of wait for this opening in his defenses as he kind of staggers a moment at this this bolt damage from under his arm. He turns his head just a bit, and you see a opening in the coif where it meets kind of the armor of his breastplate, and you manage to kind of just jab this blade straight into his collarbone, and it's not deep, but it's deep enough, and he kind of staggers back and says, "If it is so deemed, I will give my life here. But I swear that I will take as many of you with me as I can." It is his turn. He gets 2 strikes. The first of which is going to be... Oh, man. It's actually against Nyx. And the other is against Sif.
Am I
Nyx, what is
close
your...
enough to impose disadvantage on the attack towards Nyx?
I don't think so, because Nyx is on the back side of him, and you have to be adjacent to her.
Oh, okay.
I disengaged from him. Does that?
Oh, that's right. You did. Okay. Yeah, so you actually put a little bit of distance behind you or between you, not just move to the other side of him. Okay. In that case, it is going to be against Dristan, the next up in line. Armor class of 13. This is going to hit.
I'm going to give him disadvantage on that one. Am I by Dristan?
Yes, you are. Uh-huh.
My life for this old man.
However, that is still going to hit.
Sorry, bud.
It collides into your shield, but he put enough weight behind it this time to basically just bat your shield down and carry forward into Dristan. Dristan, you're going to take 13 points of slashing damage.
The loose clothing and bandages that have basically kept me together for this advantage are torn asunder, revealing the crooked and mangled body that lay beneath, and a bright scarlet splash erupts from my chest as I'm...
I missed that very last part. You're down?
Yep.
Okay. So he cuts Dristan down and then turns and wields his same blade at Sif herself. That's not going to work. So it misses you, though you had the shield batted aside. He brings it down onto Dristan and then across, very, very quick, but not fast enough, as you manage to get the shield back up again and deflect his blade away from you. Runt, you're up.
So I'm hurt. Dristan's down, and Sif's up there fighting by herself. So I drop the chest, and I'm going to go ahead and close the distance between me and this knight. But when I strike him, it's not in a fighting sort of way. I'm going to attempt to actually knock him prone using the shove maneuver.
Okay, excellent.
So use social attack. Oh, I can attack and knock him prone. Brilliant.
Nice.
All right, sweet. So yeah, I'll spend my key point for my flurry of blows. And so what I do is that sort of very dramatic, like Hollywood, like the, and then I walk in, and it's just going to be like face, and that last one, I'm just going to grab his legs and push his torso, because I am a pretty big man myself. So, here's where I'll roll a bunch of 1s and 2s, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so yeah, the first hit's a 14. Yeah.
Glances off of his heavy armor.
The second hit is a 17.
Closer still, but once again.
And can we actually hit him to knock him prone? 18.
Is the magic number that you needed. So you have found your soft spot.
So it's just clang, clang, and then so he has to make a contested strength roll or his acrobatics against me, if he whichever he prefer.
Okay, he is proficient in neither athletics nor acrobatics, surprisingly. So it'll be a straight strength roll for him.
So mine is mine's 22.
Fantastic. He got a 15.
So yeah, it's just a clang, and I'm hitting him hard enough that maybe there's even like a little bit of an indication of a dent in that helmet, because I'm not holding back. And my knuckles are bloody. There's probably broken fingers. And on that last one, when I realized, like, I mean, I'm beating an iron wall here, I just and I'm just gonna grab his feet and essentially like bear hug him and then slam him to the ground, so he will be knocked prone.
Yeah, he lands with this horrendous noise. Almost sounds like a clap of thunder as all of this metal armor collides with incredible force into the stone floor below, and you hear him, "Ah!" Drisden.
First death save. Fail.
Okay, Drisden continues to bleed from this enormous wound from this blade.
There is a like gurgly laugh coming from his body.
Nice and creepy. Nyx, you're up.
So Nyx sees Drisden fall, and she's, screams out his name, and seeing that this guy is also down, she's going to basically just run up and take her sword, and we're going to try to hit him, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, so you'll have advantage again.
Oh, that's not so good. So that's 13.
So you try to drive your short sword basically straight down into the breastplate that this man's wearing. And again, even as a small child or smaller person, you know that it doesn't take a lot of force to drive a blade into a man's torso. But it stops short with a clang as you hit the armor that he's wearing across his chest, and it doesn't penetrate.
And then as a bonus action, I'm going to disengage and make my way to the other side of Drisden, so I'm not right in the battle anymore, so that I can administer to him next turn.
Excellent. So yeah, you'll kind of dash around or roll or what have you, and as you kind of come up, you've got this vial in your hand, kind of ready, trying to position his mouth so that you can actually administer this. Gwyneth.
So the dude is done for. He's already dead.
He is not dead.
He's not dead.
He was
Okay.
simply laid out prone on the floor.
he just has a big orc sitting on him.
Yes.
Man, can I think, okay, Gwyneth doesn't want to hurt anybody. She's a spy. She doesn't do the whole combat thing unless she absolutely has to. And so she's given a shot against this dude. He looks like he's down for the count, at least headed that way quickly. So instead, Gwyneth is going to run up to Dristan, and she's going to fall to her knees and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I've got some gob for this. Just hold on one moment." And she's going to unscrew her jar of gob and smear it all over him. And this is a second healing potion that I'd like to use on him.
Okay, absolutely. So either you or Baron can roll up the 2d4 plus 2.
I'll go ahead and do it. All right, off to a good start. That's 4. That's another 4, so that's going to be 10 HP total.
So Nyx is kind of giving you a little bit of a stink eye because you're putting this nasty stuff all over him. But when it brings him back, like revitalizes him, she's kind of like, "Oh, well, that's okay then."
And then Gwyneth is going to look at Nyx and be like, "Oh, don't worry, little girl." And she's going to take a little bit more gob and just like put it on your cheek. It's all right. It's all right.
So as like this is going on, and you rush past, not helping in the fight. No, it's okay. We got this.
And that brings us to Sif.
Okay, so he's prone, correct?
Yes.
And that would give me advantage on an attack. Is that
Will.
wrong? Okay. So first thing, I want to use an action to throw down my shield and to grip the sword in both hands. And I would like to use action surge to then go ahead and make an attack with the two-hander.
You don't have to use an action to drop your sword or to drop your shield.
Oh, really?
Correct.
Okay, well then I'll just throw the shield
basically
down.
get like a free interact with object action every turn, and that's
Oh,
just
okay.
what that takes.
So yeah, I'll throw that down, brandish the longsword in two hands, and take a shot.
All right, go for it.
Oh my god, natural 20.
Well done.
Natural 20. And I also, well, I guess that doesn't take into account because I have a champion, so I would have crit on a 19 as well.
Very nice.
Oh, shoot. Okay. 8, 3. That's 15 for the first, and I will blow that action surge and go ahead and take another swing. Oh, that's not so good. It's a 15.
Is that with advantage again?
Oh, no, I didn't roll with advantage. No, it's a 16.
So the first absolutely finds this this gap, probably right at his groin, where the upper part of his I don't know what they're called. They're not greaves, but whatever that's called up there, kind of attaches to the bottom part of his breastplate, and you basically slice his femoral artery, and he is bleeding out very, very fast, but he's not down yet. And when you bring down the second strike, it basically just clangs against the outside of his leg as he's kind of closed his legs together and rolled to the side. It is his turn. He turns and raises himself up to one knee. You can tell what is tremendous pain. He likewise casts his shield aside and brings up his sword with two hands. And he turns to swing it at you, Sif. What is your armor class, Sif?
Without the shield, it's 16.
And is going to make contact with you.
Hey, Jeremy, you talked earlier about being able to spend an inspiration to interject a cool thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Could I spend my inspiration, and I'm willing to split the damage if it still hits, to grab Sif's fallen shield and I'm just going to like rotate in front of the blow. Like I'm not proficient with shields. In fact, it lowers my armor class. But I'm gonna grab it and just try and like basically move in front of this blow as I see it coming in. Because at this point, this guy means business. So maybe like giving her like half cover, which would give her +2 to AC.
Yeah, I'm cool with you pulling this off. If you spend the point of inspiration, and I am going to actually say that you can choose to have this either give her a mere +1 to her armor class, or to have the attack redirected to you.
Man, how noble is Runt?
I know we are a bunch of thieves.
But we've been together for a while, and
That's
if
true.
it comes down to it, he's not the talky type. So I need one of you alive that can do that. And last I looked, Dristan was dying. So yeah, I'll go ahead and eat the damage. And I think that makes more sense too, right? Because I don't know how to use a shield, so it's
Right.
probably I interject it and it causes the sword to slide back towards me because I'm not using it correctly.
Right. Absolutely.
So
okay. So what is your armor class with the shield?
Not good. So it would be a 14.
Okay. Yes. He does hit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And deals 15 points of slashing damage from this two-handed blow.
So you hear this horrendous scrape, almost nails on chalkboard, as whatever heraldry might be on the shield is raked off in this shower of sparks because this was not the intended target for this sword. And then this ripping of bone and flesh as it bites like through the clavicle of Runt. And he grunts and he holds the shield there defiantly, this black crimson blood leaking out. And you hear a not yet. And I'm going to go ahead and use my racial ability, Relentless Endurance. And instead of dropping to 0 hit points, I'll drop to 1.
Absolutely. And as this sword is kind of still in you, and the realization that it hasn't felled you kind of dawns on this knight, you can see the perplexed state of his body language, and he kind of shakes his head. Angorian bastard. Runt, it's your turn.
So the sword buried into him. He, I imagine that this guy and Runt are about the same height, so he stands up with this sword still in him and walks towards it, not really letting it cut him any deeper because of how it sits on the bone now. And I'm going to poof, poof, and just lay into him with both my fists, hopefully actually doing something. So again, that first blow just rings off the helmet, and there's more of a splurching noise as the bones just break in Runt's hand. The second one, though, instead of there's a moment of clarity, and instead of striking for the face, he just thrusts his hands out right into the throat of this knight. 19 total for the attack, for a whopping. Awesome. 6 points of damage.
So you slam your hand kind of up into his throat, and you hear the as he's gasping for air because you've collapsed his windpipe. But it is not a lethal blow, and he is still up. Dristan, the recently reawoken.
So, what was a gurgly laugh turns to a cough and he sits up.
Oh, Gwyneth, man, do I enjoy your company. Such a pretty face and such useful, whatever that is.
I'm gonna use half my movement to get up. Does that? I would have 15 left. Would that still allow me to move in?
To close with the knight, yes.
All right. Then I'm going to try and circle around from behind and like stab downward. Maybe not from behind, maybe from the side.
Yeah, again, he's kind of only raised to one knee, so it's definitely not hard to maneuver around him at the moment.
Gotcha.
And that would give you advantage on the attack.
Yeah. All right, natural 20.
Ooh, another. Okay. Hold up.
We're looking at 16 damage.
You did max plus whatever you rolled, right?
Yep.
Okay. 16. That's gonna do it. So describe it.
So Dristan walks over to this guy, and he's gonna actually like take this dude's helmet off. And like the bandages have been falling away, and you see that he's like missing his eye. His cheeks are all scarred and pockmarked. It could be a burn, maybe it was smallpox, maybe he got fucked up, and his teeth are all chipped. And he'll look at this knight in the face.
See, that is exactly what I told you would happen. You were gonna die here.
Stab this dude in a downward thrust.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You'll never make it out of the castle alive.
Getting out of the castle was a luxury. It was performing the heist in the first place.
Make your peace with your gods.
In the realm of poverty, there is no gods.
And I'd spit on him.
He falls sideways, bleeding to death before your very eyes. So what's next?
Gwyneth is officially really nervous at this point, and she is going to be looking all over her shoulder and like down the hallway. We should really be going, don't you agree?
I've been saying that all night.
All right. Well, let's just grab the chest and be on our way.
So I like woozily walk back to the chest and try and heft it. And it is on some shaky legs and shaky arms that I get it up, and I kind of look over to Sif.
Sif, I'm afraid you're going to have to take it.
So Nyx looks at
No problem.
her runt, and so she kind of digs into one of her pockets, and as she pulls out a vial and she hands it to you, it's another healing potion. So she'll give you that in passing, and
You can do these things.
and then she'll continue on, and as she passes the knight on the ground, she kind of stabs him down, saying, "That's for Tristan," and then she spits on him and follows Tristan.
Before we leave, Sif wants to doff his tabard from him and take his shield.
You absolutely may do so.
Yeah, just the tabard and the shield. I figured it'd take way too long to doff all his armor because he's in like heavy armor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to get that. So I get the tabard and the shield and tuck it away in my pack. Hold the shield on my back, and I'll heft up the chest.
Okay, so you pick up the chest. You continue onward. Just the small distance that this all took place now, and you enter into the carriage house of the palace, and there is the carriage that you were told would be waiting to take this and smuggle it, hopefully, out of the castle safely. And your employer is there waiting for you. His, hood pulled up far over his head. He looks very, very nervous now that the entire palace seems to be awoken. He turns and he says, "Where have you been?"
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, we stopped for a bit of tea.
Some trouble, I take it.
No. This is how I always look.
I've noticed. Come, put it on the carriage. Hurry.
Sid drops it on the carriage. You didn't think it would be easy, did you?
I didn't know there would be this much incompetence. He kind of turns and he kind of pulls the lock up. Well, at least you got the right one. He kind of reaches into the folds of his clothing and pulls out a long chain that has a key on the end of it, which he then takes to the lock, turns, the lock pops open, and he opens the chest and pulls its contents out. All of you can see the shape of a blade, and not just any blade, the king's sword, Camagel itself. Not only the most famous sword in the kingdom of Vykaril, but very possibly the single most expensive and valuable item that you have ever heard of in your entire life. He kind of looks at this the way someone would look at a fine meal or perhaps a fine woman, almost like he's drinking in every detail of this blade, and he just nods. Yes. Well done. He then pulls back his cloak, this tattered, road-worn cloak that he was carrying, to reveal a man of means beneath it. He is not just your employer, he is apparently the countenance, or has the countenance, of a high-born noble knight of the House of Baramus. Any of you, if you would like, you can roll a history check.
17.
One more time.
17.
17, okay.
Natural 20.
And natural 20, all right. Okay, so the 17 and the 20, both of you realize that not only is this a knight of the House of Baramus, that this is actually Lord Galvin Baramus himself. This man is a member of what, up until very recently, was the Round Table of Mathuran Gabrain. This is Sir Galvin. And you know probably at least 2 stories that you have heard since being a child of the deeds of this man. Is there anything that anybody wishes to say?
Well, it certainly was a pleasure working for you, Lord Galvin.
Mind your tongue, thief. Do not address me so commonly like you know me.
Ah, but the whole land knows of you, and soon they will know of us.
No one will ever learn of this or know your names.
We'll see.
But well, there was the matter of payment. Do you have the funds for us?
Of course. I'm a man of honor. You hear a coach approaching, another carriage. He says, here's your payment now. He begins to gesticulate. And as he does so, a thread of black appears beside him in the air. and starts to grow almost like creeping kudzu away from the line of this thread until it opens up into a slit in reality beside him that is probably 2 or 3 feet high and only about 5 or 6 inches wide. He reaches up, takes one last look of the blade, and tosses it into this rift that then very quickly collides with a noise. He then reaches down and pulls a trident off of his back and says at the top of his lungs, "Guards! There are thieves here!"
Nix, run.
And Nyx would book it, heading towards the shadows and trying to disappear into them.
So as this rift is kind of closing beside this man, Dristan, the locket, your first locket, is like moving around animatedly. When you look at it, the woman inside of it is moving. She's almost like pounding on the front opening of this locket like she's trapped behind glass almost, and is screaming without any sound coming out.
Could I do something with it? Can I counterspell this like shadow thing?
I don't know. You can try. Would you like to try that?
Yeah, I would absolutely like to try that.
Okay. Roll me a dexterity check, if you would, please. And if you think of a skill that can apply here, and throw it out there.
Maybe sleight of hand, a quick hand movement. If that's the case, I got a 16.
Excellent. So when you activate this locket, the woman herself steps out of the locket and into existence right in front of you. Immediately, she runs forward and jumps into this closing opening, and it folds down in around her, and this individual, Baramus, he turns and he screams, "No! What have you done? What was that?" He rounds on you, Dristan, with this vile-looking pitchfork drawn, and the veins in the sides of his head kind of standing out. "What have you done?"
Well, I wouldn't be a very good thief if I didn't have a contingency plan.
"Where did you send the blade? Who did
I
you
don't
send
know.
after her?"
I'm sure that's for you to find out and me to know.
You hear the sound of guards starting to close in from every direction. This man, wielding this questionable-looking weapon, very unpleased with how events have gone. And you see behind him the carriage that you were told is carrying your reward behind him. And you realize it's not a carriage with money. This carriage would take you to the dungeons. That is where we're going to stop for tonight. So, thank you very, very much, everyone, for playing. Thank you for those who have tuned in and given us a watch this evening, or who may be tuning in at a later date and watching then. It honestly does mean a tremendous amount to me. So before I do my final thoughts and things, I'm going to toss it over to these 5 very, very gifted players so they can do their outros. We will start with Josh.
Hey guys, again, I'm Josh. I was Sifrith Bexley. I run the YouTube channel Roll the Bones. Go over there, drop a subscription. It's a world building channel. We're going to look to get some more content on there soon. Jeremy, thanks again for running this one shot. It was very I didn't know what to expect going into it, but it was great. And thanks also to the players for really reining it in. I feel like our characters had a lot of interaction just for kind of being on the fly, pick up characters. So thanks y'all, and thanks Jeremy.
Absolutely, Josh, and I couldn't agree more. You guys did a great job for players that had a pretty short amount of time to be put together. You guys did a really good job. Next up is Steve.
So, like always, Jeremy, thanks for the game. Tons of fun. I know we have more good times to look forward to. Again, my name's Steve. I run the YouTube channel 3D6. Stop by and check it out, and I guess we'll see more of everyone in some time in the near future-ish.
Yeah, with any luck. I know next month kind of looks a little hairy, but we'll see if we can get something worked out. Next up, we have Eli.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Jeremy. This was a ton of fun. I am Eli Kurtz. I can be found at mythicgazetteer.com. I'm on Twitter at the handle ZapDynamic. I have a YouTube channel here on YouTube where we're doing all sorts of games. Right now, we're in the middle of a Blades in the Dark campaign with Jeremy and Baron and another friend of mine, Derek. And Karen is she watches that. Thanks for watching, Karen. It's been a lot of fun talking with you about it. But anyway, yeah, this has been a great game. I'm really excited with the setup, and I'm excited to see where it goes when we jump into the future.
The distant future. All right. Next up is Baron.
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of fun today with my creepy, disfigured man. Certainly looking forward to get into the Knights portion of this. So hopefully we get to play this sooner than later. Thanks, Ray.
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure. And last but certainly not least, we have Karen.
I'm Karen Davies. I had an amazing time tonight. This was great. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, everybody. It was nice meeting you. Cannot wait for the main campaign to start. Looking so forward to it. So yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Excellent. Hopefully tonight was a nice little taste. Get a little bit of the flavor of the setting down. Introduce you guys as players. Kind of get a feel for the tone and chemistry that you guys are going to be able to probably generate between you. I had a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll see some threads of this event later on. So yeah, once again, I appreciate everybody who may be tuning in. This has been session 0 for Beneath the Banner's Shadow. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves as at least half as much as we have. And until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.